Hey y'all, let's do this right fast here. Now, um, what you see here is from liveaction.org, liveaction.org, common spelling. And you see the date on it. I just stumbled across this. I was looking for something else. Now I knew a little bit about the Planned Parenthood thing, but everything I've always had has been in thesis form or whatnot. Was looking for something else and I stumbled across this. So I decided to share it with you right fast. This is eat real quick and easy. I'm just going to give it to you straight. Now, everybody know, well, the people that follow me know, no, I am no fan of Michael King. I'm just not. Hey, the people that are, that's great. I mean, that's fine. I'm not telling anybody what to do or what they should do. I won't try to make somebody do. I wouldn't try to force something on someone that I wouldn't allow to be forced upon myself. So anyway, so let's just go. You see what it says. Timing of Planned Parenthood's 1966 award to MLK suspicious. Okay, now I've done the breakdown of Planned Parenthood, the founder of Margaret Sanger and planner and one of her emissary, one of her people, that she thought highly of, George Bernard Shaw, another famed eugenicist, and how all this tied in with the remnants of the Niagara movement. The Niagara movement and the remnants, the leftovers of the Springfield riots, which all came together to get the NAACP. All this stuff is connected. And, so I say it's easy to connect, but it's easy once you read it. And, and I'm not trying to be funny when I say easy when you read it. All I got to do is start talking and that dog will shake his head to jingle that collar around his neck. All you got to do is start talking. 8 pounds of hell. Let's go. The timing of when Planned Parenthood gave civil rights leader Martin Luther King, MLK, their infamous Margaret Sanger Award is suspicious in my view. As America celebrates the life of MLK, Planned Parenthood, which takes lives, which is, for the lack of, it is, will parade MLK around as a trophy. In 1966, Planned Parenthood gave MLK the Margaret Sanger Award, and they knew exactly what they were doing when they did so. If I'm not mistaken, I think Hillary Clinton was awarded the same thing. I know she gave speeches there. I'm assuming that I think she got the award, but I'll double check. If I'm wrong, somebody please correct me. A look at records for Planned Parenthood revealed that for many years, the organization, which at the time promoted forced sterilizations of those they deemed unfit, had been discussing how they could win over the Negro community under a eugenic system. Blacks and others deemed to be feeble-minded or unfit were sterilized by the state. Research has shown that Planned Parenthood was used by state sterilization boards to perform these surgeries. A problem arose when the idea of state-sponsored sterilization began to be challenged in court. If you put these events on a timeline, as I have, you see clearly that this was the time frame that Planned Parenthood began calling for legalized abortion. The problem they faced was that the black community saw birth control and abortion as genocide, but they also had a solution. To use what their founder, Margaret Sanger, had been successful with for years. They would use blacks themselves to introduce and promote abortion. Internal memos within the organization, which I have read and detailed further on my blog, and that's the blog, not my blog, the person that wrote this blog, indicate that Planned Parenthood was discussing a solution to this ever-growing problem of blacks being suspicious of them. A snapshot of how this plan to bring the black community on board is broken down in a small way below. 1962, Planned Parenthood discovers that black leaders like Malcolm X saw words like control as negative and words such as planning as positive. Thus, the emphasis changed from birth control to family planning. Like, I'm not a garbage truck. I'm not a garbage man. I'm a residential refuse collector. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Residential refuse collector. 1965, correspondents reiterated that Planned Parenthood leadership that blacks were suspicious of population control methods. One read in part, many Negroes will be justifiably suspicious of white organizations, white physicians, and white social workers that seek to limit the Negro population. It smacks of racism and can offend people who are understandably sensitive on the matter. Well, yeah. Then a solution was expressed to involve the black leaders from the civil rights movement to introduce their projects so that whites are not in the misperceived position as racist aggression. 1965, the Urban League's Whitney Young, that's LBJ's right-hand man. He actually worked for LBJ in the White House. Gave a speech before subcommittee. Oh, and he is a member of the Big Six along with MLK, Michael King, Martin Luther, take your pick. Gave a speech before subcommittee on foreign aid expenditures of the Committee on Government Operations, United States Senate, 89th Congress, first session, where he expressed how blacks felt about Planned Parenthood. An excerpt of the speech is transcribed below. Let me conclude, but I can't talk like Whitney Young. I know what he sound like, but I'm real good at it. Let me conclude by trying to explain why many Negro citizens are suspicious of the motives of family planners. First, the administrators of most public institutions are political appointees, which is true. The top administrators are well-known racists. Second, since so few of the proponents of family planning, including PPFA, are ever prominently identified as fighting the basic problem of discrimination and segregation in employment, in housing, or even in education, either as individuals or throughout the established agencies like the Urban League, may interpret this interest in family planning as designed more to control population expansion in this particular racial group and to reduce taxes than to achieve a human and social goal. Third, there still remains all too often is TOO. Lack of minority representation at your local policy making levels. 1966, a letter written in February by Sidney A. Hessel of the Planned Parenthood League of New Haven, Connecticut, to Alan F. Guttmacher, that's the way you say it, Guttmacher, expressed his concern that blacks viewed the organization as racist. Gee, I wonder why. Since the luncheon phase of the last board meeting, I have been very much concerned. I do not know if your report was the bombshell to the others that it was to me, but the fact that the Urban League, the NAACP, etc., were actively and vocally naming Planned Parenthood World Population a racist organization shocked me. Dun, dun, dun. Okay. Yeah. Shocked me. Gotcha. 1966. Dr. Alan Guttmacher, president of the Planned Parenthood Federation, told a symposium at the University of California Medical Center that a sensitive area in the field of birth control was, The belief that the white middle class was coercing their own poor and people with black and yellow skins to reduce family size because the middle class whites are frightened of being outnumbered. Does that sound familiar to any of y'all, or is it just me? His solution was to involve black leaders in their movement so they can indoctrinate their members, involve black leaders that'll do what the hell we tell them to do. The only way the mounting it didn't say that was me. The only way the mounting feeling that birth control is a tool of racism can be handled is to involve knowledgeable leaders from the minority groups who understand and are favorable to the philosophy of birth control. They, in turn, must translate their appreciation of the contribution which birth control can make towards family stability to their own people by killing them in the womb. They left that part out. I figured I'd help him out because I'm quite sure Dr. Alan F. Guttmacher isn't here anymore. So I figure I give him a little help. He left that part out. That one's on me, Doc. I got you. 1966, an internal memo from Guttmacher and Fred Jaffe outlined the plan for winning over the black community. The memo begins by calling a new planned community relations program. The program is to form a liaison between Planned Parenthood and minority organizations. The plan, according to Planned Parenthood, will emphasize that all people have the opportunity to make their own choices in killing their children. I mean, rather than, as the memo states, exhortation telling them how many children they should have. Semantics, boys and girls, semantics. Guttmacher ended by stating that their suggestions are long overdue, but stresses we do not need to panic. In fact, if we panic and continue to publicize the problem, we may well exacerbate it. Note, in 1968, I was a little boy. It ain't say that, but I was a little boy in 1968. Jaffe founded that PPFA Center for Family Planning Program Development, which later became the Guttmacher Institute, Planned Parenthood's research arm. It's not funny, but we're almost done, folks. Note, we got that. 1966. Correspondence between Planned Parenthood leaders continue to confirm that civil rights leaders are beginning to take a hostile position toward population planning on the ground that it is an attempt to halt the growth of the Negro population. To solve the problem, the suggestion is then made that Planned Parenthood immediately open dialogue to the black leaders to get their support and participation. Give them a bell to hang around their neck. That's a Tom and Jerry reference. 1966, in May of this year, only months from when Planned Parenthood leaders discussed bringing in some civil rights leaders to help them push the Planned Parenthood agenda, Planned Parenthood gave their most infamous award, the Margaret Sanger Award, to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. It was accepted by Mrs. Martin Luther King rather than MLK himself. It is doubtful that Martin Luther King understood Planned Parenthood's eugenics pass, and he certainly had no idea that 7 years after he accepted the Margaret Sanger Award, the United States would legalize abortion on demand. He had no way of knowing how Planned Parenthood would grab abortion and use it to target the black community. Alveda King, the niece of Martin Luther King Jr., explains this. I'm not really sold on that, on the part of him not understanding what Planned Parenthood was, but I'll just leave it alone. It's their story, not mine. Let's see if we can get Alveda to play.
In 1966, the Planned Parenthood Federation of America gave its first Margaret Sanger Award to Martin Luther King Jr.
In 1966, when Martin Luther King Jr. received the Planned Parenthood Award, abortion was illegal in America. So people said, how could he take an award from Planned Parenthood? If you do your research, in 1966, Planned Parenthood said that abortion is genocide. But they were supporting at the time sterilization. Now, when sterilization was outlawed in America, that's when the big move for abortion went forward. 1966, on the books, abortion is illegal. Nobody's openly supporting it.
And in his acceptance speech, which was delivered by his strong and wonderful wife, Coretta, Dr. King wrote, "Our sure beginning in the struggle for equality by nonviolent direct action may not have been so resolute without the tradition established by Margaret Sanger and people like her."
They go into the community. Margaret Sanger said, the Negroes are like weeds, and they need to be exterminated. But don't let the word get out that that is our agenda. Let's give some nice awards to their leaders and the pastors, and they'll keep their people in line. So this was the strategy. Rosa Parks got one, my uncle, several blacks called Negroes back then. Martin Luther King got that award in 66, was assassinated in 68. By then, sterilization had been outlawed in America, and there was now a push to get abortion legalized. And you all know the story. I'm preaching to the choir. Because Norma McCorvey, Roe in Roe versus Wade, Norma didn't even want an abortion, didn't get one. They used her to force that agenda along.
In 1966, when Martin Luther King Jr. was given the Margaret Sanger Award by Planned Parenthood, abortion was illegal. Today, Planned Parenthood has become the #1 provider of abortions in the nation. Research shows that family planning centers and abortion facilities often set up their locations in or near minority communities. I've been saying that for years. I'm on record of saying that. Tragically, stats continue to reveal that abortions among minority women are disproportionately high. This is zero indication that this is what MLK intended. That's open for interpretation or debate or discussion. Anyway, rate, comment, share. And if you feel like it, if you wanna, subscribe. If you don't, then don't. It's a free world. Well, sorta. And that was by Carol Novielli. Tomato. Bye, y'all. Let me know what you think.